Okay, welcome back, everybody. I'd like to introduce Ziggi from Laser Learning, who's been working with Dyalog and Dyalog APL for a number of years now. A number seems good. He's going to talk to us about about 8. He's going to talk to us about some interesting work with Dyalog APL and NFC, and I'll let Ziggi expand on that acronym. Ziggi.
Thanks so much. Oh gosh, this is effective, isn't it? Okay, well, I'm going to walk around a lot, and I've spotted that if I walk up here, I don't cast a shadow. But if I walk there, I think I've got more hair than I actually have, so I might do that a lot. Okay, so who is Ziggi? So to start from scratch, I think I came back into the APL community in about 2008 when we started an organisation called the Childcare Company, which provided online training for nursery teachers and nursery staff. And I wrote the platform for that inside APL using a front end of ASP. In 2009, we split the Childcare Company into 2, keeping the training side as the Childcare Company, and Laser Learning we separated off to market the learning platform itself and the APL product itself to more organisations. More recently, we've added Carers Careers, which is another training company but provides health and social care training for health and social care people. That using Laser Learning's platform. So, Childcare Company and Carers Careers use the platform provided by Laser Learning and now just really clients of Laser Learning. But obviously we have a very close tie with that. At the same time, the bosses of Laser Learning, Sally and Chris Eaton, they came from a background where they used to run private schools. Now in 2000, well, when after the last election, when the coalition came into power, they expanded the academies program. And so they applied and got Langley Hall Primary Academy, an academy school very close to us. And of course then I was drafted in, and for a while I was also head of IT at the school, and I had to organise all the kit and everything else. A nightmare, a drain on my time. But I had to do it. So a quick history of what happened with the school there. As you can see, it effectively opened in 2011 with 182 children. Quickly expanded the following year to have 364 children. And then last year, it split over 2 sites. They bought a second building and split the school into 2. So you have the lower school and the upper school in different locations. And they also had to move the catering hall, the dining hall, to somewhere over the road. And now there are 728 pupils in the school. That is a huge expanse of a school. But that's because Sally Eaton particularly had a great reputation in the local area for running the private schools beforehand. So when it became knowledge that she was opening this school, parents were just throwing their... Some parents had been to her school in the past themselves. I don't think she should appreciate me saying that. But they then had children and want their children to go to her school. So, 2 sites, 2 kids, you need buses. Not one bus, you've got a white bus, red bus, green bus, blue bus, yellow bus to ship kids between things. This all started last year. And as you can imagine, that is a huge logistical problem. A couple of weeks ago, the company that delivers me wine missed one. And I rang them up and said, where is it? I said, oh, don't worry, Ziggy, we'll send you another bottle right now. Because they have acceptable losses. Now, you think with 728 children, losing one every sort of couple of weeks might be deemed acceptable. But no, apparently that's not the case. You can't just say, oh, don't worry, I'll take this one. It's slightly cleaner. It didn't work. So they asked me, so well, how can we solve the logistical issues of shipping all these children around and tracking where they all are in all those times? And I thought, well, NFC, near field communication. These are sort of little tags here which can be issued to the children. And the idea is to have one tag around the wrist. You can have a sticker, because these stickers also have near field communication tags on their ties, and you can have little sort of tags like this on the bags. And then if you have near-field readers at key locations, which look like this, can be pinned to the wall, and mobile phones, which can be given to the bus drivers so that the bus drivers can tag the children on and off the buses at each location. And then in the centre, because all things through the internet, they have a record of where all the children are, who's on what bus, and if a parent turns up and says, well, where's my kid? You can say, well, they're on the red bus or the blue bus. The logistics of actually issuing all these things I thought was going to be a nightmare. But schools, they do this sort of stuff all the time. I went in one day and I suddenly came across this table with all of this. Each one of these envelopes is for one child. They all have the tags in. They're all worked out in classes, and they were all issued as one great wave. When I came up with the idea originally, I was just one of those things, well, we could do this. And you don't actually comprehend what is going to happen. And then walking in and seeing a table full of envelopes like that really brought it home to me and said, next time, Ziggy, shut up. But once you have the NFC system in place, however, that opens up lots of other possibilities. Because you've got each kid now with the mechanism, with the tags, you can do all sorts of other things. You can actually monitor lunch. Lunches was a big problem. Kids, we're talking kids here from 4 up to 11. So they forget what they're wearing. They don't know what they ordered for lunch or anything. And so they had some system in the past of having paper and stickers and whatever. But the parents can order their lunch for the child for the entire term or half term online. And then when they go into the catering hall with their tag, the system can then say the caterers, they have a meat dish, a vegetarian dish, or a jacket potato, sandwich, or whatever. It can also have medical information. So if a child is loss of breath or something, you can scan the tag and you can see instantly that they're an asthmatic or whatever, and the information will then tell the teacher or the member of staff where to find any medication the child might need, any process or procedure that the parents have in order to help the child through it. And that is all available. And also, the school also runs a number of after-school clubs. So where all these children are supposed to be next and when they go on, and then, you might say, well, all right, this child goes to the film club, and then after film club it has to get on the blue bus, and so on and so forth. So knowing the itinerary for the child is also very important. Particularly if you think about it, the two schools, upper school, lower school, a parent may have a child in each centre, but may only want to pick up from one of the centres. So there's shuttle services running between the schools on the buses. Making sure the people are in the right place, the kids are in the right place at the right time is, or was, logistical nightmare. I say was, obviously with a system like this, which was a bit of a step out, there were teething problems. People know what I mean by teething problems. I know we've got an international kind of audience here. But, when we know a child is teething, they think. So teething problems are little issues that you have when you first introduce a system. I'm sure we've all experienced that. Particularly when you've got this sort of logistical aspect to it. But what to call it? That was a big question. What to call it? So these are the bands. As I say, I've got loads here. I've got loads of props here. It's good, isn't it? We did a trial run over the last Easter holidays. We got a group of kids from the holiday club to try it out, to make sure it worked. Because we needed, I said, we were expecting teething problems. We wanted to make sure the logistics of getting them on and off bus, how fast they could do it, and so on and so forth. So we got them together, and we all gave them little tags to try it out. And they looked at it. I have one on here. And as kids do, that little logo there stands for NFC, and I believe it's a logo from a Rapid NFC or one of the NFC companies. But the kids looked at it, and they looked at it like that. And they said, why has it got a Z on it? Is that for Ziggy? I said, well, I really thought about it. Oh, yeah, it's got to be for Ziggy. So they're called Ziggy bands. Makes me feel a little sort of peculiar, but anyway, I love working with kids. They're so direct. So what has to be on the Ziggy band? There must be no personal data stored on these at all. What is on these is a link to a website with an identifier, a number, a unique number for each child. That means that if you tag it to a device that hasn't already been logged in, you have to put in a username and password, and you have to log into the internet and the system directly. No personal data or information is held directly on the band. Nobody can take a band elsewhere, scan it with an NFC, and find out anything. Obviously, the devices, when they log in, a cookie is stored on the device, but it is encrypted so that nobody can find out that, and the encryption code changes every time somebody uses it and connects in. So hopefully it's difficult. I missed the encryption talk the other day, but I'm going to watch it on video when it comes out, just to make sure that I'm doing it as best as possible. We did a proof of concept thing over Easter 2003. It must be fast. That was something that they were very keen on, and that's why, you know, we didn't try and use barcodes or scanning things, because trying to make this, we want kids to come through very quickly with these and then move on. You can't have backlogs. And all history is then kept as well. So if in the future we need to see where a child was, or if there was any issue, then that could all be got back to. So there's historical stuff. We already had something called the School Laser, which was a system I wrote originally for them, which helped parents, teachers, and pupils communicate. It has homework in it, it has a calendar, it has notice board and that sort of thing. And so we wanted to build that into the system. It also has a mechanism for parents to book clubs for children, which again is a huge logistical thing. School Laser has accounts. It looks like my stuff. If you haven't seen kind of my stuff before, you'll be very familiar with this sort of style. Little orange men, which we got off iStock, which I also see on everyone's badges here. Everyone has a kind of view. A parent has that sort of look, including forms and things to fill out. Pupil has a reduced list, but they can still write emails and pick up their homework. And the teachers have one. I'll sort of say the pupils one. I had to then go to classes and show the pupils how to use this. And I was in a class of 7-year-olds. And you walk in, and then the teacher brings them on. They all sit down on the floor, like, you know, cross-legged in front of you, looking up at you like this. I won't sit on the floor, but look at this. And normally I use colloquialisms a lot, and so I said, right, we'll do this, blah, 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 and now I need a guinea pig, or some guinea pigs. And a boy comes straight up like this. Okay, you give me a guinea pig. And a boy over, no, I don't want to be a guinea pig, I want to be a rabbit. So, well, no, that's not what I meant. I thought, oh, the first kid, actually, no, I want to be a rabbit. And suddenly, everyone wanted to be a rabbit. I had a room full of rabbits and no guinea pigs. I thought, no, well, let me explain what a guinea pig is. And then I stopped myself because I thought, I don't want to have to explain to a bunch of 7-year-olds what I mean by guinea pig and testing and what happens to guinea pigs. That would be a bad thing. So from now on, I have rabbits. Right, so these are the locations that are set into the system that the tags, the devices are held. So obviously these are the more expensive thing. These tags and things are quite cheap, and you can have lots of them and you can reissue them. The kids all, as I say, have bands, and the bands' colours are linked to the houses, because they all have houses, the 4 houses in the school, and they all have colours that relate to the houses. And they have a set of black bands which are issued to the children if they've left it at home or forgot it that day or whatever, and the office can give them a new band that day, just program it for them for that day, but we can quickly see which ones have to be handed back or which parents have to pay for new ones or whatever the procedure is. But in the locations, the bus drivers all have phones that you can link to the system, and the locations all have these sort of devices linked to PCs. But the devices also have to have modes. Yes, you want to be able to, the device has to be quickly saying, well, I want to tag the child in this location, this child is getting on red bus. But if you find a bag or loose in the corridor somewhere, and a teacher goes up to it with a device and scans it, they can see who the bag belongs to, but they don't want to tag the child of being in that location. So that's where we have the front desk. The identifier, which just identifies who the tag belongs to, a tagify and tag in location, boarding bus, a light from busing, or get off bus. I had an argument with people because a light is the correct term for the opposite of boarding. And they say, oh, people won't understand that. But what I discovered, actually, is people who use public transport know what a light means. And people who won't get on public transport with the great unwashed don't. So it's not a posh word at all. But yes, so get off, or in the canteen. Because in the canteen, you want to know different things. You want to know what food that child wants. You don't necessarily need to know the bus that they're getting on that evening, although currently it does tell them. And likewise, if you're getting on a bus, you don't necessarily need to know what they ate for lunch. Oh, okay. Right. So let's minimize that and show you. And this is where I'm praying that the connection, everything works properly for me. Praying that I type in the right section. So this is the school laser system itself. I've logged on as me, that has more buttons than anybody else, because I'm the most important person. Actually, for starters, let's log on as a parent, a test parent. The parent has forms that they can go to. And on these forms, they can fill out medical information, they can do the lunch orders, which we'll do in a second, they can request buses and say, actually, next time I want my child to be on a bus, and then that information can be presented to the school and they can work out bus routes and stuff like that. Or they can say, yes, I need my child to be moved after school, from upper school to lower school, where I'll pick them up because I've got 26 children, didn't have a television when I was younger, whatever. To order lunch, they go in here and, screen's quite small, and select lunch orders for their child for the entire half term and can submit it. You'll notice that I can say, right, let's make that the meat dish. The choices are quite simple. Obviously, it could be more extensive, but this is geared up for the catering company. The earlier ones, you'll spot, are locked. And that's because those have happened. At 9 o'clock each morning, a batch job runs, which looks at all the orders for the school for that day, produces an email and sends it off to the caterers and other key people, telling them what the order is going to be for the following day. And then it locks the drop down so that it can't be changed. The order is sent to the caterers and kind of looks like that. It does a breakdown by class and totals at the bottom. And that's what it looks like. In fact, that is one that I had to send to them yesterday because I accidentally sent them one from my development system when I was testing this. And I thought, oh dear, all the kids' food's going to be wrong. And as I've created a class in the system called Dyalog with all the Dyalog representatives, they might be preparing food for you right now in Langley. I hope they haven't. I hope they got my email saying, no, sorry, mistake, this is the one to go from. So that's the sort of thing the parent does. The parent can also fill out, as I say, medical forms, medical information, which is done in a standard way. So that information is in the system and can be got by any teacher in any class who has a device. It's also printed out, somewhere it's printed out and stuck on the wall with a photograph of the child. This child looks like an orange man. That's the other thing. I can't use any children's photographs for this, obviously, so I've kindly acquired some photographs for the system, for this demonstration. If I log back on as myself, if a teacher goes into this selection here and looks at lunches, say, there we go. They see a list of classes. All the classes are named after artists for some reason, and they are all self-portraits of said artists. Now, right down the bottom, we have a new class called Dyalog. And in that class, we can look and see what's been ordered at any particular day. We are week 3, I happen to know. And we can see the order. I don't know which one of you guys will eat meat, vegetarian or jacket potato, so I hope I haven't offended anyone by suggesting anything. That was just a... I've had to come up with some medical conditions as well, but, you know, again, it's just... I have no idea. Please, no one take offence. So that information all goes in the system. Right. We have the tags here. First time I need to log on. I can say yes, keep the information. And let's say that this is canteen. Let's get the password right. Right. So, number of Dyalog people will come through the canteen. Wouldn't you believe it? Okay. I think because I've logged on twice, normally these devices are just geared up for the one thing. Okay. Let's do this quickly. And so on and so forth. We have loads of these. So I put some other things on some of these. I don't know which ones because they're all laid out upstairs.
I don't think people realize you're actually clicking.
Oh, I'm sorry. So the kids come up with their bands and they go like that. There you go. On the system itself, we have live tags, and this can be up in the office, and so we can see various people being tagged in locations. And if then people get on the bus using a device like, say, this, which when you tag someone on the bus with a device like that, they will appear there in the top list. There's your Nadine, straight away. And they go red when it's just happened, and then after a short while they go orange, and then say, yes, sorry.
Have the kids figured out the fun they can have by switching their Ziggi bands?
Yes. Yes, they have. I was at the canteen helping them, and some of them come on, they say, yeah, I've lost it, and all this. And some kids come up and they immediately do that, because they've immediately worked out there's a tag on the tie that they can use. And then a boy looked up at me and said, I bought my sister's today. So I said, do you want to eat what your sister eats? But no, they're being encouraged. And so what I'm going to be doing, in order to make sure that they keep their own bands and actually keep them regularly, is link it to the positive points mechanism of the school. Because if they do well and whatever, the teacher can issue them positive points. And if we tell them that, right, okay, you got a positive point, come here and I'll tag you to get you a positive point, they'll be far more keen to keep their badges than no one. Yes?
Question. Do you explain to kids what's going on, and do you get their consent?
Well, it's funny. People talk about privacy from late teens until they have children. Parents love the system and don't care at all. They want to know where their kid is. The kids themselves think the bands look cool, and because, well, as I say, we're talking about 4-year-olds through to 11, so there's no sort of, I don't want to be tagged over. They actually think they look cool and great. And in terms of explaining to the kids how it works, the kids explain to the teachers how it works. The teachers think, wow, this is magic. And the kids are there, so as I say, they know, they've worked it all out. Because you'd speak to a class of children, it's, I was saying to people the other day, it's funny, they can't imagine a world without the internet. It's like us thinking about a world without television or cars. They are absolutely bemused when I tell them that there was a time before internet. I run a film club at the school for a while, and trying to explain to them that films existed without computer-generated graphics. And he's sitting there going, what? Why? Why would you do that? One kid actually said to me, well, why didn't they just use video? Sorry.
I was just wondering if you expect maybe some test litigation case on this where a kid will decide to stand up and test the system in terms of privacy being taken away.
Privacy, the tags are used for them to get onto a bus and to say what they have for lunch. And if the parents put in details of medical condition, then that's in the system. That is useful information for the school to know. That information's been put up on walls in schools for 10, 20 years anyway. So I don't see any difference between saying that Johnny has asthma or so-and-so is allergic to nuts or eggs, which also comes up, which is what I was trying to demonstrate earlier. Having that on a wall in a classroom to have it on a tag. As I say, no one can read these tags unless they're logged into the secure system. The password, as you can see, insists that you log on very regularly, far more regularly than I was hoping. So that data is secure. There was, I believe, an incident when a school did try and introduce these things, but they did hold lots of information on the band itself, or on the tags itself, and then the parents did object and took it away, and I can understand that. But the devices, as I say, have an encrypted password on. If the device is lost or stolen, the staff are instructed to change the password on that account. It should still be logged in immediately, so that, no, you shouldn't have a problem with that. But again, if you have a system which is paper-based, which is stuck on a wall, or stickers that are stuck on a kid saying this kid has to get on blue bus, red bus, and then go to a holiday camp, I don't see that is any different to this. It's just, this is just making it more secure and means that the staff in the centre can find a child very quickly. Does that kind of answer the question?
What if a child just sort of wants to get lost? I mean, what if they just, or want to run away, or their parents are
not so
great?
Well, I think if that was the case, there are systems in there where the child can sort of indicate that they're not happy in many ways. We're going to be putting a system which says, so that they can privately go and say, look, I'm not happy about this, or I'm set up, whatever, and the teachers can do it, and then the teacher should then get involved and deal with that child's particular issues. We don't want to lose children, obviously. So, yes, the fact that we can track them, and so far we haven't had that kind of issue. And as I say, we're talking about 4-year-olds to 11-year-olds. Teenagers up to 16, it may be a different story, and they may sort of necessarily want to start cheating the system, playing with the system. But we're talking very much about primary school children, where hopefully they're happy, and if they're not happy, they talk to somebody about it. Okay, any other questions? Yes.
Yes, you showed us how parents have access to the system in order to book lunches and things.
Yes.
But do they have access to this almost live updates for their own children, so they can see that they've been to lunch and now they're on a bus?
That has been discussed. We wanted to make sure that it bedded in and all the teething problems were knocked out of the system well before that sort of thing was available. But yes, it's being talked about. But there are issues of, well, okay, what if the parent wants to see this? That's all right. But of course you could have two parents. One, they could be estranged. There are cases where the school has notes that so-and-so must not see their father or whatever, or grandparent or whatever. So we have to balance all that up. And that is very much an issue for the school. And I've said, well, if you want that sort of mechanism, obviously that's clearly can be built in, but that's not my decision. They have to work on that sort of basis. I'm going to grab some water and then show you another little trick. As you can see, my phone is geared up to be boarding the bus. And that's okay, because all the kids will get on the bus and, you'll... So it's geared up as, what am I? Oh, I'm plugged up, score, should be red bus. And people board the bus. This is Karen, and it says, who's manning the reception desk? Oh. That comes on. But then, of course, the bus drivers drive and next location, and you want to see the kids get off the bus. So we have two cards like this, or little tags like this, which are geared up. You can have a board and a light, and they're stuck to the dashboard of the bus. And so when the bus driver then gets to the other side and drops off the kid, he can just wipe that against the tag, and then every tag that goes through will then say, alighting from bus. Come on. Thank you. So it all has to be very quick and efficient. And tags can be used to change the modes of the devices if they forget or log into the wrong thing or whatever else. And I was hoping to show you a few more of the funny little messages I put in here.
I have a question.
Yes. Oh, cool. Who's got a question?
I seem to be on a mic already. So that leaves me some freedom, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Except I can spot where you were for a second. Carry on.
Yes. How do the kids get to know about the plans that are made for them?
Well, we, as I say, we had a sort of group at the Easter holiday camp, and we had a bunch of them and explained it to them. And again, that's why I learned it's very, very important to explain to children in terms that they understand. Because I, just chat to a crowd like this, and I got them here in a room, and they're all sitting there, and I said, well, now that we're going to do this, and the idea is that we know where you are so that we can keep you safe. And one little boy immediately popped up and said, well, what if we're not safe? Oh, wow. But unfortunately, I had a teacher there who said, no, sorry, you will always be safe. We'll always keep you safe. And he was happy. But yes, knowing how to deal and talk to children like that, well, that's what the teachers are for, and they're far better than me.
What I'm asking about is how do they find out that they are going on the red bus to this part?
Oh, I see.
And what they're needing for lunch, and when it's time to go to lunch. How do they see that plan, the itinerary for them?
I haven't got a copy here, but there is a report that comes out at the beginning of the day. There are a number of batch jobs that run. There's one that produces a chart of the itinerary for every child, for every class, for that day and where they're going.
Yeah, but 7-year-olds can't read, can they?
Well, it's for the teachers.
Yeah, so what about the kids? How do they know? Do they get any information from...
Well, they can see the system. I spot them when I'm in the canteen, was testing this all out. They all come and they wave their bands, and they all do like this. Immediately you see their face on the screen. They look at their face. I don't think they're reading what they're doing. It's more important with this age group that the teachers know where they're supposed to be, and the staff know where they're supposed to be, and the parents know where they're supposed to be. And they're all guided. And schools are geared up for that beautifully. They just have them all lined up various places, on and off buses. But as long as the staff know where they're supposed to be, and staff get reports and get information from this. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does, but I also think it maybe does not teach them how to conduct themselves during a day.
Well, I'm not a teacher.
No.
But one thing I did point out at school is that you could use this system for registration at the beginning of the day, but I didn't think it was necessarily a good idea, because personally I think a class registration is an important part of the learning process. Coming in, all sitting down, saying your name. You could just have them come through the door and do that and appear in a register on the board. But personally, as a parent myself, although my kids are a lot older now, I feel that would take away something from the education. So, but that sort of balance is down to the school and the staff and councils and greater thinking minds than mine.
In terms of the technology, it seems like you're highly reliant on very good communication connections. How do you manage situations where those are not available? Cell phones don't work, network connections don't work, etc., or do you just really rely on that, and that's the way it is now?
We are reliant on that, but we looked at making sure that there was redundancy in that particular mechanism. At the lower school building, there is the main building and there's a swimming pool, and they have different connections. And the idea was to get broadband in both locations with Wi-Fi in both locations, so that the Wi-Fi would cross over and be independent of each other. Plus, you've got the mobile phone network. So the mobile devices will work throughout the playground, through the catering hall, and so on and so forth, and can link through the Wi-Fi and the mobile network. We have looked around the whole issue. There is obviously a problem if the bus goes into an area where there's no cell phone activity. And one of my next tasks, which I'll be looking at, is to build in a sort of delayed app on the phone, so that if they tag the child as getting off the bus and there's no network, it delays and sends that information as soon as it does connect again.
So none of the system is distributed to the devices. It's simply you really have to have a connection to that central database all the time.
I have another question. Probably sorry. I think your system is probably very well designed, and from your perspective, it's probably a good job. But I'm wondering about the educating side of things, because it seems to me that this is not educating children, right? It's just cattling them, isn't it?
It's keeping them safe.
They should know their own good, right? They should learn their own good rather than being tracked into, being locked into some safety.
Yes. There's always education. With children, they are learning all the time about various things. And it's difficult to know what they're picking up. If you're a parent, you'll know that. You get a little dot like that, and as they grow, and then they suddenly spot greater things. And you see now children and toddlers picking up newspapers or Radio Times or stuff and doing this on it and wondering why the picture doesn't change. No, they get all this stuff there. So they understand that these tags are there. They understand that there's technology on it. They can see the mobile phones, and so they're learning that sort of thing. They will be arranged to queue up to get on the bus, because obviously they have to do it very quickly. So that side of it is all managed, and all that sort of education I'm leaving to the teachers, as I say. The prospect is that we need to be able to show, or the centre needs to know where each child is at any time, should they need to know. Rubika.
This is actually not a question, it's just a comment. I think that a lot of the questions that have been asked so far has been asked by people who have not had children who go to primary or infant schools in the UK. There is very strict rules with regards to directing children and looking after them associated with schools in the UK, and they're graded accordingly. So the system that you have created actually is an additional help from my point of view, having observed what they already have to do in terms of admin, in terms of tracking children, truancy and stuff like that. So there is the English school system is very different, for example, to the school system in Denmark and I'm sure to France, etc.
Yes, it is important. I was in Florida a few years ago, not last year, but a couple of years beforehand, and there was a tour guide or a holiday person who was explaining to us about driving in America, and they explained that a school bus has to stop and you're not allowed to drive around it. And she actually stood at the front of a bunch of Europeans and said, and this is because we look after our children very well. We're very precious of our children. I think, what, and you think we're not? You know? Everyone obviously wants the children to be safe, and that has to be a key thing. And the parents really buy into this system because they really want to make sure that the school knows where their children are at all times. As I say, you can't just give them a slightly different one at the end of the day. Okay. Thank you. Very much.